Well, that's definitely blue.
Sorry. Welcome to Krocks in the Kitchen.
I'm Jessica.
And I am Brian.
So today we are sharing a little bit of a story with you guys. And it has some ups and some downs, highs and lows and all the things. But we thought it was just interesting and we really just wanted to share it with you.
So we now present Grief and the Blue Room.
Welcome to our blue room.
I like it.
So the other day I was off working all day and it was Friday and Brian just decided to take some time and come over and work at our house. And on my way out, on my drive home, I called him and I said, hey, I'm on the way home. Like, am I meeting you at your parents' house or, what are we doing? And he was like, oh, I've been over here cleaning all day at the house and getting, we'd been working on getting this is our bedroom that we're in, and we've been working on getting it ready to move into. And he, just was like, come over and meet me at the house. So I decided, okay, cool. Like, I was excited. I was like, oh, you've been cleaning? That's awesome. This closet that's in this room is like nasty. It was like full of cat hair stuck to the walls, maybe some cat barf. I don't even know what happened in there with the cats. But, I was like excited that he'd been cleaning all day and that everything was, coming along nicely. We were just at the stage of moving furniture into this room and getting it ready and just a step closer to moving into the house, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I walk into the house and I walk toward the room where he's working and I see this bright blue color. And I go, oh, okay. Oh, okay. And my only reaction was, it's blue. It's definitely blue. So let's hear like what your side of that day up to that point had been.
All right, so this is where the first part of the title comes into play. You guys know the rough weeks that we were having there and the loss of the 2 embryos. And the funny thing was that I had a lot of people asking me how I was doing. And of course, I'm standard, I'm doing okay. I'm doing fine. But the thing was is that I hadn't actually gone through any kind of real grieving process. Like, I was sad, but I hadn't cried. I hadn't done hardly anything. And I had some conversations later on about it with our friend Anthony, who is no stranger to grief whatsoever. And we had this amazing talk about how grief is not linear. It doesn't play by the rules. It doesn't follow any sort of logical pattern. It can come and go. It can jump on you suddenly and then leave you alone again. You can have delayed reactions. You can have overreactions. You can have underreactions. You can have there is no pattern to grief. Everyone can grieve in a completely different manner than the person right next to them. I know Jessica completely grieved in a different way than I did, and there is no right or wrong way to grieve so long as you're not hurting other people emotionally or physically. But for some reason, I don't know why, but when we were talking about renovating this room, we had talked about just leaving the walls the color that they were before, which was this sort of gray color. And I don't know why, but I just hated the color of these walls. I couldn't stand it.
Yeah, and we had decided that, so this room is, the other room we did, the teal room, was a room that we know is going to stay that way for a long time. Mm-hmm. But this room, we have future, bigger renovation plans, probably in the next 3 to 5 years. So we were kind of let's just clean it the best we can. And then, for the most part, leave it as it is. And then just move on. And so we can get in here quickly. We can get it done, not waste a lot of time, money, effort, all that in renovating this room. Now, I could tolerate the color of the walls that they were. The paint job was pretty bad, I'm not gonna lie. But a lot of the paint jobs in this house were kind of a rush job, it seems, before we moved, whoever did it before we moved in. But I was like, you know what? It's not somewhere where we need to invest our time and energy, and all that, because I also looked at it and it's like, okay, yes, painting a room sounds like it's like, oh yeah, a couple hours here. But these walls have, you can't really see it, but they have that Marlite paneling that we talked about in another video. We'll link to it. And it's kind of a pain because you got to make sure you're painting in between the little lines of the thing too. And it has like, you know, some weird trim. There's like, it's like metal trim that's kind of weird that kind of snaps to the wall, and you have to really, to do a good paint job, you have to pull it down, and then we would have to strip the paint off that, and then the trim in here. It's just like, originally I was like, yeah, painting would be fun, but then I looked at it and I was like, there's a lot of detail work. You got windows to paint around. Let's just move on.
Yeah.
Brian did not move on. So we had talked about maybe going to look at some colors just to see like, okay, let's, you know, but we hadn't talked about anything as far as the direction of the color. Now, in the teal room, that was definitely like my love of teal came out in that room. But Brian, you know, he liked he was with me every step of the way when we picked out the colors. He likes it. You know, I think you do. You said you did.
Yeah.
But that was very much my personality coming out. And so I had been prepared in our bedroom. The Marlite panels are actually pink in here. And I was like, well, we're definitely not stripping the paint off that and having a pink bedroom. Like, as much as I might like that, I thought, you know, I would give Brian a little bit more of the, what do you think about this room? And let's kind of go off of that.
Yeah.
But I was not expecting him to make such a bold choice.
Yeah. So on that Friday, the night before, I actually had spent a lot of time looking up colors and stuff like that, trying to find a color that I thought would be complementary to the other colors in the house. So that way there was some sort of like flow throughout the house where not everything has to be the exact same color. You know, the living room is a different color from the guest room. So I was like, well, you know, if this is the direction that I'm going, then I kind of want to go in for a blue color. You can't see it, but we've got like these gray sort of wood type floors, like they're, you know, laminate fake wood floors. And we've got like a white ceiling above us. And it's not a white, it's like an off-white kind of color, but who knows if that's dirt or if it's just that's the color. We've cleaned it several times, and it appears that every time we clean it, we remove more dirt. But for some reason, I got it in my head and that I was going to paint this room, and I wasn't going to tell Jessica about it. I was going to surprise her with it, just because Jessica loves surprises so much in her life.
I love doing surprises for other people.
She does.
I'm horrible at it because I get so excited that I want to tell people, but one of my favorite things to do is just to do something extra special for somebody that I love, and to know what they love, what they'll enjoy, and really make that happen. Like, that is how I express love 100%. And it's really hard to do the same to me, as Brian has found out over the years. But yeah, so what color did you pick, Brian?
I picked Hacienda Blue.
It's a bear paint color.
Yes. But I went to Home Depot. I looked at the color samples, you know, that matched sort of what I was thinking in my head. And I bought a gallon of paint. I even talked to my friend about the whole situation, and he was like, yeah, you know, it's like 20 something bucks. It's like you get a gallon of paint the room, bang, bang, boom, done. Right. And this was like, you know, kind of early in the morning when I went and did this. And so I got the paint and I came here and I just started painting everything and going to town. It took me a heck of a lot longer than what I thought it would. And, you know, it required another can of paint to get it to this point too. But I paint everything. Takes me a good long while, but I mean, I'm in the zone. I'm like just going to town, making sure that paint's in every single little crevice, and like trying to get it all nice and done for Jessica. I paint the trim up above.
Accidentally,
because I couldn't. I don't know. Yeah, I was having a lot of trouble because there was like caulking around the top. And the paint was not sticking to it. Painter's tape was not sticking to it. Like whatever I did, it was just like, okay, well, I'm just going to paint the trim then because I know I can do that. And I got everything sort of to a semi decent state. And then that's when Jessica came over and she was completely shocked and was just like, it's blue.
Yeah, I was trying to control my emotions. Like, there was a lot going on in my head, but I really wanted, so the color shocked me because it's such an intense color, and we hadn't discussed like anything about the colors that we would choose or anything for this room yet. And it shocked me, and Brian seemed kind of scared. Like, he didn't seem...
So,
if I had walked in that room and you were like, look, Jessica, I painted this room blue, and then look how amazing it is. I love this color. But I wanted because it was such a shock to me and I was not at all sure about the color in that moment, I wanted for you to love it. Because if you loved it, that would be enough for me to be like, yeah, okay, cool, let's, but you were like, probably reading the look on my face.
Yes,
and you
absolutely.
were like, I screwed up.
Yes. So that's what it was. I saw the look on your face and I was like, oh, this is not sort of the reaction I was expecting. And then like I started to sort of not backtrack, but I start going through every question that I had throughout the entire process. It's like, oh, I should have probably, like, if I was going to do this, I probably should have picked a lighter color, or if I was going to do this, like, and blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, well, I guess I didn't do good, and of course it was like, well, it's not perfect, but it's okay. And like, I'm going to fix like a lot of the mistakes that were, are still left. And it was like, all these thoughts just running through my head, watching her look completely shocked as she stares at these blue walls.
It kind of devastated me, because there's nothing more sad to me than when someone goes out of their way to do something for me and I don't like it, and I can't I'm not good at just playing along. And it broke my heart that Brian would do something that he thought would be so good and that would be a good thing, and then for me to not be able to be like, oh my gosh, Brian, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what to do. Like,
that's true.
Yeah.
And so like I started just be like, oh, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, like, blah, blah, blah. It's like, like, I kind of like the color, blah, blah, blah. And we ended up going home after that because, Elsie was back with my parents, yeah. And we were going to go home and get something to eat. And
we drove home in our separate cars back to his parents' house. And I'm pretty sure we both probably cried on the way home a little bit. You weren't crying yet?
No, I didn't cry yet.
So I was like, I was going through so many emotions. And then when we got home, I just needed to be alone because I just didn't know how to process what had just happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew there was no way for me to take back like the disappointed look on my face that I probably had when I walked in here. Like, I couldn't take that back and I couldn't make it better. And I ended up laying in the bed and just going up in the room, and I locked the door, and I was like, just like alone. And I actually wrote out my thoughts, and I was trying to get a hold of Tess because I think she was at a party for a child that goes to their church that just found out that they're cancer free or they finished their treatment maybe, and
something like that.
I'm not exactly sure the details, but they were it was, they were doing that, and so she was like unavailable, and she's kind of like my go-to person when it comes to just some of this stuff. And so I was like, okay, I I was trying to decide if I should full on commit to the, oh my gosh, what did you do? I don't like this kind of vibe, or if I should try to pretend that it was okay and I liked it, but I didn't think I'd be very good at doing that. And so I wrote out kind of a message to her, and honestly, it was just, I mean, I can get you the message if you want me to read it.
Sure.
Okay, hold on, stand by. Okay, here we go. Here's the blue.
So she sent photos too.
So I sent text a message, said, B did a thing, and then we can show the pictures that I showed. And I said, I'm trying not to go totally insane. I guess he wanted to surprise me. He picked a color without consulting me at all. I know the other colors in the house are ones that I definitely like, but he also was there every step of the way picking with me. Then he spent from 11 to 4 p.m. away from our daughter to do this project. It definitely needs another coat, so we need more money. We need to spend more money on it, and the edges need major touch-up work because usually when we do the paint, I'm the one that does the detail work, right? The color is ... interesting. It definitely looks different than he thought it would, or it looked in other light that he saw, or whatever. He just committed full on without even a sample test or anything. I'm trying not to completely blow up because somehow in his brain he thought it was a good thing that I would like ... And it makes me sad. I don't want him to cry. And I know you're at the party and not expecting to read this or respond, but I just need to type out my thoughts. And then I sent her the swatch of what the bare color was supposed to look like. Said, it's supposed to look like this, but honestly, it just looks like the color of blue painter's tape. And then I was like, it's just like, great. You spent all day painting our room an interesting shade of blue, and now I come home from a long day and have to do laundry, so I have pants to wear tomorrow. Because like I was expecting that you were going to be at home like getting stuff done, maybe here cleaning a bit and all that, but you were here just painting it blue.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like unfiltered, just my reaction. And Tess called me and she's like, no, just pretend to like it. But it was too late.
Oh, it was way past that.
Yeah. By that point, I'd already like unloaded all of my thoughts on you.
Yeah. So after we got back, I was working on getting some food going, and we were feeding Elsie and just doing the normal stuff that we would do when we got back. And Jessica just went off upstairs, and I was like, oh, okay. And so I sat down and after a bit there, and I told my mom, I was like, I think she's really mad at me. And my mom goes something along the lines of, I can tell that she's definitely upset. And she goes, but it is just paint. You can always paint over it. And I'm like, ugh. And so I got up and I went upstairs, and she was telling me all this stuff. She's like, I don't know if I should just pretend to like it, or, if I should tell you my thoughts. And I was like, always tell me your thoughts. I'd rather you tell me the truth than BS me.
Yeah.
I can't stand lying, in and of itself. And so it's I definitely don't ever want Jessica to lie to me. That's just a horrible basis for any relationship. And so
Well, a lot of you out there are probably thinking, yes, Jessica, you should have just gone with it.
Yes.
I totally get that.
But
yeah. I read you the text.
She kind of unloads on me, and I'm feeling horrible, because I'm like, oh, I really screwed up. I really, really messed up here. I shouldn't have done this. I should have listened to that little voice in the back of my head from the start that was like, yeah, you probably shouldn't do this. And that voice kept coming back every single step of the way, where it's oh, I started painting. It's oh, you probably shouldn't do this. Oh, you probably shouldn't do this. And it was just one thing after another. And so I'm feeling horrible. I'm feeling bad. I feel like I've completely screwed up. I've completely failed. I've completely just gone off the rails, because in my stupid brain, I was oh, she's going to like this. Yeah, it's a nice shade of blue and this and that. And it was at this moment that I don't remember how, but we brought Elsie upstairs after a while. This is an hour or two later or whatever it was. We brought Elsie upstairs, and we're both talking and we're both upset. And I look at Elsie and she just smiles at me in that way that she does. Like there's nothing wrong in the world whatsoever. And I broke. And like I said, grief has no rules. There's no rhyme or reason to it. And so I ended up talking to Elsie and apologizing to her for everything, really, about not getting her a sibling. And I remember saying something along the lines of, I feel like I failed because I know that you have so much love to give to this world, and I wanted to give you another family member to love and hold on to in case your mother and I don't live long. And every emotion came out at that point. And this lasted maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah, it was like the walls, like the guard that he had up just came out. And that's when, you know, I had kind of thought about it before, but I realized like him doing this project was a way to deal with his grief. And it's interesting that it came out in blue, because blue is, you know, like being blue is associated with being sad.
And it was like a form of control, you know. It was like, this is something that I can do, that I can control this situation. I haven't had any control in any of the other situations that I've been in, but I know I can do this. And so I just threw myself into the project. And I'd been doing that for weeks. You know, a lot of it came out as recipe testing. But when it came to the house, it was like, oh, I can totally do this project. And after we were done crying, of which the entire time we were bawling our eyes out. We were both
just like bawling. And
Elsie was just laughing at us hysterically and jumping on us and like pushing us. And she had no idea what was going on through this entire process. She thought it was just the funniest thing that mommy and daddy were crying. And we both just loved on her, and we kissed her cheeks, and we just held her, and we held each other. And it was like, okay, like we finally let go of something that we needed to let go of. It took me a few weeks, you know, it took me time after, but it finally...
A few weeks and a few gallons of paint.
And so here we have
this beautiful blue room.
Grief in the blue room. But honestly, the more time that I've spent in here after fixing up the little bits, after clearing that, we pulled all the trim off again, and we're going to strip that and paint it and, like, you know, make the room look real nice. And I finally, like, even after the initial shock and the initial thing of like, oh, I shouldn't do this, this color's really grown on me.
I freaking love this color.
I
love this room. Like, the amount of joy that I get now out of walking into this room and seeing the blue walls is like, sometimes in life it's not about the color, the initial, like, you know, the beauty of something. Initially, it's not about like that surface level. It's about the meaning behind it. It's about what, like, it sounds so stupid to say it, but like, if you hadn't done this, I'm not sure if we would have gotten to that point of having you finally like break down and processing those emotions in the way that you were able to that night.
Yeah.
And it took you picking this color, me going like, what the heck? And like that whole series of events to lead up to that specific conversation that really just, you know, it was just a beautiful, like, it was sad, but it was like a beautiful thing that happened because it was something that needed to happen. And then, you know, he had to do the second coat of paint because it was like not covered all the way. And we were like, should we try for like a slightly different shade? And I was like, you know what? No, like, we're sticking to this. And honestly, after we did the second coat, even like it looks even better. And it's not, I'm sure a lot of people will walk in our house and walk in this room and be like, whoa, that's blue. But I love it. And I love you. And I love like what it represents. And I think the other thing the thing that we've, you know, with grief, it's so important for people to know that, like Brian said, everybody grieves differently. And it's okay if your grief doesn't look like everyone thinks it should. You know, everybody will be like, oh, you know, he's not really like grieving like I thought he would, or what, like speculate around those things sometimes with people. Or the other side of it, the people who are just like, well, you don't really have a reason to grieve. Yeah, you should move on, and you should, you know, get over it. Yeah, everybody deserves their space and their way, you know, their time and their way of grieving that they, however it comes out for them. Now, again, unless it's like some kind of crazy harmful thing. But yeah. The other thing that I have learned in these last few weeks that I wanted to share with you guys is that you can grieve and be so grateful for what you have and grieve what you've lost or what you wish you had that you didn't have. Those two things can exist together. We are so grateful for everything that we have, for clear scans for both of us. You know, we've both been through cancer diagnoses and like just we're thriving when it comes to that. And we have Elsie. Like, I literally held her like a couple nights ago in the middle of the night. I was just holding her and I just started bawling at how beautiful of a miracle she is. But I can also still be sad about what we wanted in those other two embryos. So if you are going through grief and people are like, well, look at what you do have. Like, know that what you do have, and it could be the most amazing thing, you can still be sad about the other stuff. Like, those two things can exist together. You can be super, super grateful and thankful and all that, and you can still be super, super sad about something else. And I think that's really an important message that I have learned in the last few weeks. Yep. It's amazing how you can have two different sort of viewpoints at the exact same time. Yeah. It's pretty wild. But I love you. I love you. And I seriously like... You love the blue? I love the blue. I don't know why, but I freaking love the blue, you guys. So this is me being like... And even in that moment when I was like, I hate the blue, oh my gosh, I actually was remembering times in our life together that like you have known something would be good for me and I haven't known, and I've trusted, like I haven't trusted in it, but then it turns out you were right all along. So I was like, maybe this is one of those times, and I think it kind of is. Maybe. Or you just like the story that goes along with it. I actually just like the color now, though. But either way, folks, thanks for listening to our random story of this blue room. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and you can click the bell that is right next to it. You get notified whenever we post a new video. You can also find us on social media, Facebook and Instagram. You can leave comments, leave likes, send us messages, all that kind of fun stuff. But I think that's all I got for this one. That's definitely all I got. We will see you next time on Krocks in the Kitchen. Bye.